Um, Thank you very much for inviting me today to talk about the regulatory framework in Mexico regarding the stem cell interventions. I would like to say therapies. Can we move to the next one? Should I do it here? Oh, it's here, yeah. So, as many of you have said today, medical health tourism, it's a very important business in many countries and one of the main incomes in Mexico. And in the past years, it has been really fostered in Mexico, the traveling of many patients outside Mexico to our country in order to get medical treatments, and in many wonderful places in Mexico, for example, Cancun, Puerto Vallarta, and some other places that are not that nice as Tijuana. And well, our main consumers, our patients, are American citizens or Canadian citizens, and mainly they come to Tijuana or sometimes to Monterrey to get medical treatment cheaper, and also they don't have to wait for the long waiting lists in their own countries to get access to medical services. So that is why they are very popular, and now many private hospitals are taking advantage of this of this good reputation of some places in Mexico like Monterrey and maybe Tijuana. Well, what is the regulatory framework in Mexico? What is the law that is governing biomedical research? I didn't put that on my slide, but I'd like to say that in Mexico we have the constitutional right to access to healthcare protection, and it is established in Article 4 of our Constitution. So all of us, we have the right to get healthcare protection. So from that constitutional article, we have the general health law that regulates all the health in Mexico, biomedical research, tissue, cells research, and also we have another regulation, which is the biomedical research regulation, that deals with all clinical trials on human subjects. However, none of these regulations are talking specifically about the regulation of stem cell science or stem cell treatments or therapies. What is the authority that governs biomedical research in Mexico, or the homologos of the FDA in Mexico? Is the Federal Commission for the Protection of Sanitary Risk, which is called in Spanish, the acronym in Spanish is COFEPRIS. Any clinical trial that is conducted in Mexico needs to be registered and approved by this commission before being conducted or attempting to be conducted in Mexico. Well, I conducted an empirical research because I found out that there were many companies in Mexico offering stem cell treatments, and I needed to know how many of these, if they were offered as, first of all, as clinical trials, and if they were offered as clinical trials, I wanted to find out how many of them were registered in COFEPRIS. So what I found out is that none of the treatments that are offered in Mexico are registered as clinical trials. So with the cells that they are telling us that they are using in order to give you treatments and therapies, there is one exception, or not, three exceptions in fact. The Hospital Ángeles of Tijuana has one clinical trial register, and also the San Jose Hospital of Monterrey, and there is another one in Guadalajara. So most of these treatments are offered as proven treatments or proven therapies out of stem cells. So that is why they don't, the COFEPRIS, or people who work for COFEPRIS are not aware of what is going on in the stem cell market in Mexico. In fact, I was in a conference in September in the Faculty of Medicine at the UNAM. I was invited by the Mexican Society for Stem Cell Research. And also I talked to Doug, who is here now, before going to that conference. I was invited to present one of my papers, which was about stem cell therapies in Mexico. I basically was showing that most of the therapies offered in Mexico were not part of any clinical trial, and they were offered as proven treatments or therapies. So Doug brought my attention and said to me, Maria, have you seen what is going on in the Mexican regulation? There are some changes. So when I was studying in England, when I came back to Mexico, I started working as crazy in order to prove that I can contribute to some kind of regulation in my country. So I didn't realize about that change, and many of the people, I'm working also with the College of Bioethics in Mexico. Most of them, well, all of the members of the College of Bioethics in Mexico are well-renowned scientists in Mexico who have a lot of influential power in policies and also in science in Mexico. They are working also on stem cell science in Mexico, and they didn't know about the change of the law as well. So we were really surprised about what happened in December 2012, and the changes of the law entered into force in February of this year. Basically, before, the general law prohibited any kind of commercialization of organs, tissues, and cells. What was the change in the law? That they were not anymore considered as act of commerce, those related to the cost of procuration, extraction, analysis, derivation, preservation, transportation, or supply of organs, tissues, and in a specific stem cells. And we just got this first introduction of the concept in the general health law until now, because before there were not any explanation about what the stem cells were, or even they didn't appear in the general health law. So what is basically happening is that there were a lot of lobby from private medical enterprises in Mexico in order to introduce this new paragraph to the Article 327 in order to charge patients for the procuration, extraction, and supply of their own stem cells. So they were not considered as an act of commerce, and they could charge patients to be part of medical experiments in the best of, and I think if we are lucky to have good doctors doing this. So this is a real problem in Mexico because, for example, also Doug brought my attention to this Medical Tourism magazine, which was published in June. I need to be careful about what I'm saying now. Maybe I'm not going to be allowed to be back in Mexico. Dr. Rodrigo Robles, who is the State Commissioner of Medical Arbitration in Baja California, the state where Tijuana is, and he declared in that journal that other people travel to Mexico for stem cell therapy, a treatment that has yet to be approved in their own country. For those unwilling to wait for FDA approval or afraid they will receive a placebo in a blind study, Mexico offers an alternative treatment destination. However, he also declared that he is also protecting the ethics of doctors and protecting the service for society. Obviously, here I can see that he is protecting patients because he's a commissioner for medical arbitration in Mexico. But I don't know how he's protecting patients if there is no proof of efficiency and safety of most of the treatments that have been offered in Mexico. So most of the patients who are accessing to these interventions are mainly part of experimental medicine. So in that conference that I went in September, I met one of the doctors who is offering these stem cell interventions, who is working in Nuevo León in an university hospital. I'm not going to say names because I was talking to him and he said to me, how, Maria, do you think that we are going to be fostering innovation in Mexico and new treatments, and if we don't try? And I say to him, well, you are not talking to me as a scientist, you are talking to me as a businessman. So what is my response? I think that we need to have evidence first that some treatment and therapy is going to work in order to have flexible regulation, because I'm in favor of flexible regulation. And also I was, and it is one of the proposals that maybe I'm going to be advancing in the next panel discussion that we are going to have about moving forward in this area. And I think that what we need at the moment in Mexico, as you can see, the law has been changed in favor of those private clinics. So they could charge patients in the name of the cost of procuration and extraction and supply of their own cells. So that's it. Thank you.
I think we're raising a theme here. It's not just about science, it's about the business and how to disincentivize the business. The last speaker in this group of speakers before we go into panel is Dr. Zhao and he's going to talk about the regulatory and legal frameworks in China. I'm very sorry if I mispronounced your name. So please tell me the correct way.